Hey guys, MBSC1 again, and I think last week I said I was going to come out with a list for like a hovertap toxin type deck, but with Toxicroaks and like with new cards and stuff like that. So I built a list for it. I'm gonna run it at my league today and just test it out. I tested it a little bit yesterday, and the list seems to be working really well. I only changed one card, but I'll tell you what that is when I get to it. So I'll just go with the list. So we'll start with Pokemon. Oops. We got four Sableye. This is basically what the card or the card that the deck runs off of. You're gonna be junk hunting almost the entire game, so you kind of need four Sableye. It's really important. So yeah, that should be enough explanation. 2/2 Garbodor. It's standard Garbodor decks. I guess with Lysander and Megaphone being out, you might want to run a thicker line, possibly. Well, I guess Megaphone wouldn't affect that, but with Lysander out. But I don't know. I don't think that's going to be a problem. 2/2's good for me. We got two Toxicroak. So Toxicroak is going to do triple poison, which makes your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned, and they take 3 damage instead of 1 between turns. Then with Verbank City Gym out, that makes them take 5. So this works well with Garbodor because you can shut off abilities like Rush In and Verdant Wind so that your opponents can just stay poisoned. So it'll do 5 going into their turn and then 5 coming back into yours if they can't retreat or something like that. And this is basically, you use this and then you come in afterwards and bring out Sableye and start junk hunting so that they're poisoned taking 5 and you can junk hunt while you're doing that. So yeah, this is your main offense. There's also 2 hypnotoxic lasers in the deck, but I figured since you have those, you don't really need lasers very often. But this is your main offense with the deck. The deck does a fairly good amount of damage using Toxicroak, but the thing is, it also runs your opponent out of a lot of resources so that you can take wins in the end with very long games usually. And then Darkrai, like the mat. You just have one Darkrai. This deck is packed for space, and I can only fit one Darkrai. I had one Darkrai and one Yveltal before, and I realized I wasn't really using the Yveltal very much because I didn't have enough energy acceleration to just power it up and take big knockouts, nor did I really want to, actually. I just felt like it was a better route to keep junk hunting. So Darkrai is your main big end game attacker. Also, what can happen is you can do 50 with Toxicroak, and then 50 coming back into your turn, and then 50 more while you junk hunt or something like that, and then they're at 150. But the thing is, then they can, I mean, if they find a way to retreat or switch or something, on that second turn of being poisoned, then you have a Pokemon with 150 damage, and it's just sitting on the bench. Then you can come in with Night Spear and do 30 damage to the bench and do, make it 180 and knock it out. So Darkrai is really good for that. It's basically the only dark attacker you have in the deck because Sableye just junk hunts the entire time. So this is the draw support. This is a little bit different. So usually I do. Let me move this over the side. Usually I do 4 and 4 Juniper, 3 Random Receiver, and 2 Bicycle. With this deck, I do it a little bit different. So 4 and 4 Juniper, same. We've got 2 Random Receiver instead of 3. 2 Skyla, and 1 Colress. I like this a lot, actually. I've been trying this out, and I think it's really cool. I love this. I love this Skyless, to be honest, because I can Skyla for Life Dew, which is really helpful. I'll show you that in a minute. But anyway, you can Skyla for Life Dew. You can Skyla for like an Enhanced Hammer or a Crushing Hammer or a Switch or a Flowstone. Like it gets you all the stuff that you might any of the stuff you might need because this deck only runs 1 or 2 copies of a lot of cards. So having that Skyla is really helpful because then you can get that one or two of those cards into your hand and then just start junk hunting for them every turn. So this draw support line, or here I just talked about Skyla actually. 1 Colress just because it can get you tons of cards at the end. It's a lot better than any other draw supporter. I could run a third Skyla, but Colress is better. I actually wanted to do a second Colress, but I don't know where I can find room for that. Like I said, the list is pretty packed. Then 4N just to disrupt your opponent. Put your opponent to a low amount of cards at the end of games when they've taken a lot of prizes, which they will. And then Juniper just to draw cards quickly, and Random Receiver so that you can junk hunt for Random Receiver and then get supporters if you don't have any supporters in your hand. Which is really important because you don't run Dowsing Machine, so you're not going to be able to Dowsing Machine for supporters. And then this is the items. The items is the longest part. So one Super Rod, basically it's sort of to put back Garbodor, but I feel like I use this just so I don't deck out more of the time. This is my other not deck out card. So I use this a lot to not deck out and to get energy back. And that's mostly what I use it for. But also, if they knock out a Trubbish or a Garbodor or something, I can use the Super Rod to get those back. And then Palpad is just shuffle 2 supporters back in your deck. Or, yeah, it's from your discard back in your deck. And then I noticed this is the one of the changes I made from previously. I didn't have a Palpad in my deck. And I noticed that I ran out of supporters in games a lot when I needed late game ends so that I could put my opponent back down to a low number of cards in their hand, especially if they like drew something off of a Juniper or something, or if they got a Juniper or something like that. Yeah, so I found this to be really necessary, and I think it's probably going to be a great addition, even though I haven't tested with it at all yet. But I think it'll be good. 2 catchers. I had 3, but like I said, the list is pretty packed. Couldn't fit a third. This is great for catching up one of your opponent's Pokemon and then making it so they need to switch. And if you do that enough times and they run out of switches, you can just have a Pokemon in the active position and they can't get out of the active position. Against Plasma, maybe catch her up a Deoxys, and then they can't really do anything with it unless they can get like Coerce Machine or Prism onto it, which will be a little bit hard when they have low amounts of cards in their hand because you end them so many times. And just like stuff they can't really work with. So catcher is great for stalling your opponent. Also against Darkrai Yveltal, you can catch up their Keldeo, and if they don't have an energy attached to it, you can triple poison it with Toxicroak, and then it does 5 going into their turn, and 5 coming back. And we'll assume they attach 1 energy on their turn to that Keldeo, and then 5 going back into their turn, and then they can attach to it. But the thing is, it's stuck up there for 2 turns, and it's taking up both their attachments for those 2 turns, and they can't get out of that poison. So it's just really good for stalling and making your opponent use their switches and resources. 2 Dark Patch. I only have 1 Darkrai, and I don't really need much acceleration because I'm just junk hunting the most game, and that only takes 1 energy to do. So yeah, but this is great if I want to have an energy on Sableye, but I also want to attach to Toxicroak also. So it's good for that use. You don't really need more than 2 in this deck, just because, you know, it's not very aggressive at all. So yeah, that's why I only have 2. I only have 2 lasers because you've got Toxicroak to poison, and there's no point in playing a laser and using Toxicroak in the same turn. So I just have these 2 for when I want to junk hunt that turn, but don't want to use Toxicroak and then junk hunt on the next turn. 3 Riverbank City Gym because I'm going to be poisoning throughout the whole game, and I really need to have these out so that I can maximize my damage. I need to win that supporter war, I guess you call it. Also, I can put it down on the first turn and triple poison on the first turn for 50 if I can get a double colorless energy on Toxicroak, so that's nice. 3 Ultra Ball. This is just to search out anything. It's really standard in this deck. Or any Darkrai deck, to be honest. 2 Enhanced Hammer just to help against Plasma, Fairies, Mirror Match, Frizzy, and Genesect. Pretty much almost every Tier 1 deck. Enhanced Hammer is good for doing stuff against them. And like I said, you're junk hunting the whole game, so you can get these back many, many times. This deck's best matchup is probably against Plasma. 2 Crushing Hammer. Since you're locking your opponent down, they probably won't be able to do much. So you can just junk hunt for the hammers over and over again and hopefully wipe off all the energy on their field. With that situation I was talking about with the Keldeo, if you lock it up there and they attach to it, then you can Crushing Hammer off the energy, and then it's just going to get knocked out because they won't be able to retreat it. That's just one example, but stuff like that happens a lot. You got 2 Switch because you're going to have Garbodor out, and Toxicroak has a 1 retreat cost, and you can retreat for 1 with it, but it's a lot better to switch if you can, just because the deck doesn't have any energy acceleration. So yeah, those are good. Also, it's good for getting out of sleep flips if your opponent's using Hypnotoxic Laser. I stayed asleep 4 times yesterday at my tournament, and I was running 0 switch. Basically, that's why I lost, or at least that's why I say I lost. You can say some excuse if you like, but yeah, after yesterday, I realized that I need one switch in my Yveltal Garbodor deck. This isn't my Yveltal Garbodor deck though. This is I call this deck Dark Toxins lock. Um, but anyway, two switches necessary in my opinion in this deck. I might go down to one. We'll see though. And then my tools are two Silver Mirror. I don't have Muscle Band because I'm just not gonna use it on anything. It doesn't work on Toxicroak because Toxicroak actually isn't doing damage; it's just poisoning. And I only have one Darkrai. So, I really don't need any tools. I could have done Eviolite, but I really just want to have that Life Dew on my Sableye, actually. So, but I mean, Life Dew will be helpful sometimes. And I want to have Float Stone on Sableye also. But, I didn't know what tool to go with, so I just figured why not make my Plasma matchup better. I also saw that Dustin Zimmerman ran these in his over Toxin list. Or maybe it was in the when he went to the Jason or to the Klosinski Open. But anyway, they just seem good. It's a good tool to have when you need 6. Full Flow Stone. A lot of things need to retreat for free in this deck. And you don't have Dark Cloak, so Float Stone is very helpful for that. Just like the added consistency too with the 4th one. I don't have 4 reverse hollow ones though. Also, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I usually have reverse hollow Junipers, but I didn't in this deck, and that's actually because I feel like the reverse hollow ones clump a lot, and like I had a game yesterday where I had 3 Junipers in my hand at once, and I was just like, this is too clumpy, so I just took them out and put in regular art ones, or regular ones that aren't foil. This is my 7th tool in my Ace-Spec Life Dew. You've heard me talk about this a couple times. I feel like it's very good in this deck. Since you're going to be using Sableye the whole game, you can just junk hunt for this repeatedly, and make it so your opponent isn't taking any prizes every turn. We're not, I guess every other turn, because, yeah, anyway. Yeah, so this is great. It's also good for, Megaphone or Tool Scrapper bait in the beginning of a game, because your opponent will have to use it on this, and then they can't use it on Garbodor later, and then you can just junk hunt for it back. So, this thing will get Tool Scrappered, or Megaphoned, a fairly good, I mean, like, I don't know how much of the time, but it'll happen. But the thing is, it's still so good because you can just junk hunt for it and it won't matter. Also, check out these sleeves. It's pretty cool, right? Anyway, then the energy. This is one thing that I think I might change, so I'll explain to that in a second. Okay, so we got 7 dark, and 2 double colorless. I really want a 3rd double colorless. I don't know where I can find room for that. After today, hopefully I'll figure out something I can take out. I'm thinking one of those switches, possibly. I have no idea where else, though. I mean, I pretty much need everything else. Maybe a Verbank, but the thing is, you really want those Verbanks, and without Dowsing Machine, it's like, I don't know. But, yeah, you don't really need more than... I run 9 Dark Energy in my Yveltal Garbodor deck, but you have 4 Dark Patch in that deck. You're trying to accelerate energy really quickly, and it is a big deal if you miss an attachment in this deck. In that deck, sorry. In this deck, you can kind of miss attachments, and it's not a big problem because, you know, Sableye just costs 1 energy, Toxicroak costs 2, or a double colorless energy. It's not a big deal. So we have the lower count of energy, plus there's Super Rod to put the energy back in. I think this works fine. The darker energy amount, I mean. I really want a 3rd double colorless, though, and I think I'll take a switch up for it. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's the entire list. I came up with this pretty much entirely myself. My list was based off of Dustin Zimmerman's deck that he played at Worlds Worlds 2013. But obviously it's heavily changed because I have Toxicroak and a lot of other things that are different from his deck. Plus, he doesn't run that deck anymore. I think he runs Verzine Genesect now. So yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more, like if you like the video, and comment if you want to tell me something or tell me something I should change about the list, because I'm interested in you guys' input on that. So yeah.